Oh my god! How's it going? Nick here.
And Andrew.
And welcome to the dice episode. We're talking dice today, right?
Yes, and that's a really big topic, and so we're going to touch on it based on a few things. What we use
for dice, storage, organization, dice superstitions,
tips and tricks on how to roll faster and better.
Yeah, when to roll. We're going to kind of roll that into that. Fudging rolls as a GM.
Yes,
that's a big topic. That could almost take its own video, you know.
And dice cheating.
Oh,
and
cheating.
That's a really interesting topic as well.
Yeah.
So we'll probably end it with the two most controversial topics we can think of.
Yeah, they are controversial. So dice we use. I'm like
Chessex.
I use Chessex.
Chessex. The rounded Chessexes are there in every game story probably ever.
Yeah. I don't use metal dice myself. I know a lot of people use them.
They're cool. They're blingy.
I'm cheap.
Me too.
I like weird multicolored dice. So
I have a giant bucket at home of all the different mismatched colored dice that I've collected over the years, and it's all Chessex or from random game sets that I've collected. But now I have just two colors that I use: orange with black pips and like neon green with black pips, and for the D6s anyways, are the numbers. And I use them purely because I can roll them across the table, and if they get like a foot or two away from me, I can still read the number.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all about function now for me and what I use, but they're all Chessex still.
Yep, I used two basic colors, a blue and a gray, just because the white standout numbers on those really easy to read, and my eyes are kind of going.
Yeah.
Going
south. Your eyes are going.
Don't got glasses yet, but yeah. We're pretty simple with the dice. Lots of people though like those metal dice, and they're nice. We should probably review one sometime, buy some.
Yeah.
But that's not what this episode's for.
Yeah, but, I actually kind of get almost. Maybe I'll touch on this a little bit later, but the people that have like the dice where there's symbols for certain numbers, or it's really fancy, like almost like calligraphy-esque numeration, just it almost bugs me if I can't see what you roll because I don't understand what's on your dice.
I think definitely your fellow players should be able to read, the numbers on your dice. They're not just for you. I mean, especially if you're playing in like a public kind of game, public setting. I think, you should have dice that's easily read across the table.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get into cheating later.
It's something to look out for. So.
Storage organization. I know how you like to keep your dice.
So all of those mismatched ones are just a big tub, but the stuff that I actually take to game night is in a little, I think it's Plano brand, but it's a little tackle box sleeve with the dividers in there, and I've got my D6s, which I've got a lot of D6s because I war game too a lot, are all in their own little spots, and then the two colored sets are separated as well, so it's pretty easy. Just flip it open and get my dice out. So.
You're pretty organized. I'm a little less. I like a dice bag. I'm a dice bag guy. But
nothing wrong with that.
But I do like to keep my dice organized when they're on the table. That's for sure. I like to make sure they're at their place. Like, for example, Savage Worlds. If we're playing Savage Worlds, if you're familiar with that, I like to have all my dice, preset to where they go on my character sheet, kind of thing like that. That's simple. I know lots of people like to. Some people will tote theirs around in mason jars and
one of my
wooden chests.
What's kind of funny is one of my favorite little dice holders I had was actually one of my old glasses cases. It snapped together really hard, but it wasn't latched, and it fit a D20 set and a couple extra of each dice. I mean, it was small, compact. It was perfect. Like, that was one of my favorite dice cases till I moved over to the really big tackle box method.
Yeah. I do like the tackle box thing. I do keep all sorts of other stuff, tokens and things like that in those. But it's not much more to say about that.
Bags, tackle boxes, dice, or any sort of cases. I mean, a lot of the Chessex stuff comes in little things. Those things are nice until they start to break on you.
Yeah, they do break. I think they make a better piece of terrain than a dice.
Yeah. I've seen people keep their dice in all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like there's like fancy chainmail bags. I've seen those from like Red Fairs and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
The leather dice bag that unfolds into a dice tray.
Oh, what's the
What's
the alcohol bag? Crown.
Oh, Crown Royal.
Crown Royal.
If you don't
so
have
many
some
Crown Royal
dice,
things.
if you don't have some dice in a Crown Royal bag,
I
got a few.
Everyone has. If you don't have one, someone in your group probably has dice in a Crown Royal bag.
It's not the one I carry to game night, but yeah. But yeah, most people have those, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just go to the Ziploc bag, I guess, but
maybe I should do that.
It's whatever can. In my opinion, it has to be something that you can put in your bag that you can trust to not break apart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you don't lose them. And
because losing one dice out of a set, well, for me now since I got down to 2 colors, I'm golden. But back in the day when I'd have a nice set and I lost like the D8, and now it's really easy to replace a dice if you lose one. But back then, if you lost that one D8 and you don't have the D8 and you have an incomplete set, and it would just bug me. I was like, I'll just buy a new set and I'll throw that one in the bin.
Yeah. And we both have played with, I'm sure, tons of disorganized players,
Oh, man.
Yeah, be organized. Keep your dice somewhere nice. And, it starts to flow into every other
You get to game night and then the guy opens up his bag. He's like, oh, I don't have any D6s. Or like, oh, D20s.
Check your method of carry. Check to make sure you have your dice before you
That's an advantage for the tackle box, is I can see that my dice are in the tackle box because it's clear.
Yeah.
You can't see in your bag.
You gotta remember, though, to take your tackle out of the box when you're done fishing.
I got different tackle boxes. I got so many tackle boxes. My tackle boxes have tackle boxes at this point. So.
Dice superstitions. I know we want to get into that.
Yes.
There's a lot there.
And it's not. Maybe it's just. Sometimes it's just habits too.
Yeah. Some are good. I mean, I have them. I think you have probably some too.
Well, like a habit I always have is when I have my dice out in front of me, I tend to always put them on the highest number. It's not because I believe that like magically weights the dice to rolling good, but some people do believe that having all your dice on the max number like increases the chance that will come up. Or some people believe the opposite. They believe that you shouldn't have them on the max number because you're wasting it. Or
it's one of those things where, like I like to roll my dice a few times. I know lots of people do that where they try to warm up their dice, right? That's not kind of how I think of it. I just like to make sure that the dice I'm using are rolling good before I'm sitting behind the screen. But
and so people are like, don't waste your good rolls.
Don't waste your good rolls. Yeah.
That's not how probability works. But
if you think that's how probability works, then
you can.
That's great. Do that.
A lot of people have their lucky die or their unlucky die.
They all have to be a matching color or maybe a mismatching color. Don't touch other people's dice. There's that one.
Or dice jails are a new thing now that people like to. This dice has been mean to me, so it goes in dice jail by itself.
I usually only lock away my dice when they're slaying players.
I do have a D20, and this was more of a joke than anything. It was black D20 with red numbers, and it had an enormous amount of crits one night as a GM. And it ended up being a 1-player death. And so, let me see that dice, and I'm like, okay, I know this killed you, so here, whatever. He takes and he scratches off all of the colored numbers except for the D20 and gives it back to me like, well, this is still the same. And I'm like, thanks, whatever, man. So we took that dice and I put it in a little case, and I actually have it locked in the gun case. Never to use it again. But do I believe it's actually more lucky? No.
Don't you have a name for that dice?
Slayer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's Slayer.
Oh, that dice.
And that's actually followed me from college. Like that was a long time ago.
Slayer. Yeah, the Heralds still sing about that.
Yeah.
That dice. I've locked away a few dice after, nonstop crits on a player. And usually it's like last time I did it, I think I was critting on our paladin. It was just nonstop, and I was like, okay, you're getting locked up. Yeah.
One of my friends on a game night, he bought a brand new set of dice, and he rolled absolutely abysmal. To the point where he just picked up the dice and chucked it across my garage floor and was like, "Can I borrow your dice?" And I'm like, "Sure, I got multiple. Here's the bucket. Go ahead."
Yeah.
He just like, those dice are cursed. And that's not how dice work. But he believed that they were just a horrible, like he said.
We might have got it wrong.
Which then
I don't know.
I actually recycled into my DM dice to prove a little point to. I put them next to my DM stuff next time we played. Like, yep, I'm using these dice.
Some of my most favorite dice, some of my most favorite D20s, just roll low for me all night long, and I don't know why I keep holding on to them, but
So have you heard the whole thing? If you have a dice that's just absolutely like cursed, bad mojo, it's like the worst dice, that you're supposed to destroy it in front of the other dice to teach them the lesson.
Really? Jesus.
Yes, you're supposed to put all your dice out and take that bad dice and like light it on fire or take a hammer to it to teach the other dice to be in line.
That might be a video. That might be a video.
Yeah, different ways to destroy your D20.
I've heard of people like blowtorching their dice.
Yeah.
Like at session.
I've heard people freezing them in a cup of water as torture. It's to teach them a lesson.
I don't know if I could do that to the dice.
I
just
don't
seems so barbaric.
No, it seems tedious to me.
Well, when in Rome, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess.
I suppose it depends on the setting.
Yeah, or people like there's different. What was it? The Gary Gygax's memorial. You're supposed to put your dice on there to get luck, or there's a lot of different luck things of how to get your dice more lucky. Or if you have a really bad dice, a bunch of lucky dice, you mix them together. It's supposed to bring luck, or don't let them touch because then that bad luck will rub off.
Yeah. I know some people won't even loan their dice out to other players.
Yeah, don't touch someone else's dice without asking.
And if you loan them out, you're not like, don't take them back. Kind of thing. Yeah, I've heard
or
that.
don't borrow the GM's dice. That is the big one, because apparently you can just get cursed with the night. The GM doesn't care. GM will give you dice.
I don't know if I'd ever take the GM's dice. That seems weird.
Yeah.
It seems real weird.
It seems very scary.
I don't think dice are meant to cross
the screen. There's this barrier here, GM player privilege barrier.
Yeah. Once you start, what do the other players think too when the one player starts taking the GM's dice?
Well, if they roll really bad, all the players are like, "Ha, it serves you right." But if he rolls really good, it's like, "Oh, traitor."
Yeah.
Traitor. So.
Well, yeah.
If you have any superstitions, I would say post them. That would be actually a really kind of fun thing to see.
Yeah, if you've got superstitions, if you're watching, throw them on our Facebook. Yeah. Post some dice superstitions. We'll do a follow-up video.
If you have ways to destroy dice, send those too, because we might go through those.
If you want to talk about your legendary player killing TPK monster dice,
take a picture.
Yeah. And post it on our Facebook.
You ever seen the dice shaming that people have done? Mm-hmm. Like after your dice rolls a 1, they'll take a picture and they'll put a little like an index card and they'll write what it rolled a 1 for. It's called dice shaming.
It's like shaming a dog for chewing up the...
But instead you're dice shaming.
Ooh.
Yeah. So any of those sorts of posts would be awesome.
Yep. Well, let's talk about tips on rolling dice.
Okay. So one thing that I started doing, I want to say like a year and a half ago, and then I kind of forced upon our current play group is, and to me it just makes so much more sense. So let's say you have, in D&D, you have your greatsword. Mm-hmm. Okay? Alright, well you have your D20. Well, greatsword's 2d6. Okay, roll all 3 of those dice together. If you don't hit with your D20, not a big deal. Okay? But if you hit with your D20, your damage dice is rolled. It's done. Like, I know it doesn't seem like you're saving a lot of time, but any time that you save to get to the next player's turn, just I think helps everyone's attention span. Mm-hmm. There are some times where this isn't advised. Like if you have something that can modify it to hit roll after the fact.
Depending on if another player.
But you can still have your damage dice ready to go. Mm-hmm. So you roll that D20. Okay, it hit. Now I get to roll right away. Mm-hmm. Like left hand, right hand sort of thing.
Yeah. I wouldn't advise rolling before your turn, but make sure you have for sure your dice collected. Like if you know you're going to cast magic missile on your turn, you better have your D4s ready.
Oh yeah. If you want to chuck out some fireballs, you should have all your D6s to go. And don't be asking everybody to borrow D6s. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen that happen before too. Like, I want to cast Fireball. I only have 2d6s in my dice kit. Can I borrow everyone's d6s?
Yeah, like, or you're rolling.
Or you're picking up and re-rolling it. And so your Fireball, which took you 10 seconds, is now taking you like 2 minutes.
That's another one with the dice to use if you want to go, backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you bring the dice that you're gonna need.
Yeah, if you like a dice set and it's not like horribly expensive, like if it's a Chess X set, pick up multiple sets.
Yeah.
So if you lose a dice, it's not a big deal.
And you don't have to bring multiple sets to your first session.
Yeah, that's true. I'm saying like this is for something
time,
that's a tip for down the road. If you really like this set, get a second one or a third one.
If you're going to put any amount of time into tabletop RPGs, you're going to collect a lot of dice over the years. So that not a big deal. But make sure you're rolling everyone talks about rolling attack and damage all the time. That's a good one. But yeah, you should make sure that you're watching the game and make sure you're ready to roll your dice. Don't roll your dice before you're called to roll your dice.
Yeah.
We could get into this with cheating, and we will. But yeah, don't roll your dice before it's your turn, and then when the DM asks what you want to do, say you've attacked or you've cast magic missile, and here's your attack, or here's your damage. I mean,
like a really good habit is to literally be ready to go with your dice. Okay, it's your turn. Wait, swing with my great sword, and then throw it. Don't throw the dice and then tell me what you did. Tell me what you're doing, then throw the dice. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, well, what did you roll that d20 for? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've seen people pick up a d20 when it's their turn, roll it, look at the dice. All right, your turn. Like, what did you just do? Did you just swing and miss? Did you try casting a spell or a check or something? I know you rolled low, but announce it. Get out there. I don't think there's too many more tips for that. Yeah, the organization is a big thing. Have all the dice that you need. Roll it all together.
Yes. Yep.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Dice towers and dice boxes.
Yeah. I do like dice boxes or dice trays.
Dice trays. Dice trays are nice, especially if they're more rigid and there's not a chance for them to get cocked in the corner.
Yep, it is.
You almost throw them off of the sides a little bit.
I don't own a dice tower. To be honest, I'm not a fan of dice towers.
I feel like it does not speed anything up.
If you like dice towers, and maybe you can talk me into it, maybe I'll get one sometime and try one out. But every time I see one, it just seems so...
It uses a lot of table space. So so does a dice box too.
Maybe there's some quiet ones.
Yeah.
But they take time,
Yeah, and they take up table space. They take up table vision too. It's kind of funny to say that they take up table space because like a book or a dice box take up too, but the height can actually kind of be distracting.
Yeah. I mean that they're cool. I would love to.
I've seen some amazing ones.
Build one. Yeah. But right now I'm not a fan. I don't know. Yeah. I would love to hear an argument for why they're awesome.
I've seen some really cool ones where they built them to look like terrain pieces, and actually I've seen people so they can incorporate.
There's some cool. Yeah. I do want to build some. I want to build some out of SPS and wood. Just to make a nice castle feel to it.
That would be kind of cool.
Or something.
A big old tower. Yep. But if your dice takes like a good 5 seconds to get down there, and then you have to check the roll, and God forbid it's cocked, and you do it again. It
is a satisfying sound. It's just it seems like if you're gaming at a club or let's say you're gaming at your house and your family's sleeping and you're trying to game downstairs or something, right? It could be pretty loud.
Yeah, I'll never forget for the sound thing in college. We were playing D&D in our dorm room, and we were rolling on the floor. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the girls from the floor below us come up and pound our door like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "We're playing D&D." And it was like, well, that's what that sound is, because the dice were clacking on the floor.
We're fighting giants and stuff. What do you want?
And they're like, okay, sorry, but we'll roll in our boxes on the beds or something, instead of on the floor. So,
fudging rolls.
Ooh,
that's a topic. Let's get into that. Fudging rolls.
So, I don't really fudge rolls anymore. I'll admit I have done it. Mm-hmm. I've done it for different reasons. I've done it to save players. I've done it to increase tension. And then I have a question. So I'll go actually. Okay, have you fudged rolls, and have you done it, or do you do it anymore? I don't really anymore. I'll say that.
I do, not always. There's a caveat to that, but it's like if I made the mistake behind the screen, or if I planned the adventure and I made a mistake, miscalculated something, and I've overdone it. I've made the encounter too difficult, which is rarely a case, especially in 5e.
Yeah.
But if I've done that and I'm going to kill a player, I might fudge a roll. I will not fudge a roll if the players made a mistake and they know they've made the mistake. Typically, they're like, my group's pretty good, our group's pretty good. We all know that's a consequence to not being prepared, making a misstep, things like that.
Yeah.
Your character can die. And
we're risking it. It's our own skin,
But I will fudge a roll if it's my fault. If it's the player's fault, I won't fudge a roll necessarily. Yeah. I won't even do it for the sake of the story, because the story is just a story and the character is just a character. But I want to be viewed as a reliable person behind the screen, right? A consistent person. So as long as I keep that rule, I will fudge occasionally if it's my fault and I feel like the need arises. Yeah. I don't want to kill a player because I made the mistake.
Yeah.
A character should die because they made the mistake.
Now,
right?
There's one thing about fudging rolls I kind of want to ask if you've ever done this. And it's kind of fudging a roll, but it's not really. Mm-hmm. Have you ever rolled a dice behind the screen that had no relevance, but players thought you were rolling for something
a couple
important?
times. I think
it's a lot of fun.
I think you might have tipped me off to it, and I've done it.
It's a lot of fun.
Since then.
Like, I already know what the outcome is going to be here. There's no question here, but I'm rolling dice behind the screen.
Have you ever done the? I know I've done it, but Anchor Infernal at Drunkens and Dragons over on Runehammer on that YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out Runehammer, check out Runehammer. It's pretty awesome stuff. But he likes to use a timer die. It's like a D4, and he's got like, you roll if you want the players to complete a task in a certain amount of time before something bad happens, you like just pop out a D4 and like you got like 4 turns before something bad happens. Stuff like that. But I mean that's a fun way to use dice.
That is a really fun way to use dice. So I've rolled behind the screen when I already knew what the outcome was. Like, I knew what was behind the door and it wasn't bad or whatever, but rolling the dice just kind of upped the tension. Which, in a way, I guess rolling a dice with knowing that it doesn't matter is kind of like fudging a dice roll. And I know a lot of DMs that have done that, rolling just for the sake of rolling.
I like to think of it like sitting behind the screen, random roll, you hear the sound of the roll of the dice go.
The players just snap their head.
Just look behind your screen, look at the dice and be like,
no.
And then just leave them with that, right?
And another thing too that's kind of interesting is I don't do it anymore, but I know DMs that have done it, and I know so it's kind of almost like a reverse fudge, asking for a roll from a player even though you know exactly what the outcome is going to be. Mm-hmm. I don't do that anymore. If I know what the outcome is going to be, I'm not making my players roll some random roll to do it.
Yeah, when to roll is the question, right? Yeah, it's another. Yeah, if there's no reason to roll,
But it's kind of a way. It's almost like a reverse fudging of a dice, asking the player to roll, even though you know the outcome doesn't matter.
Yeah. Sometimes like I'm sure many of us GMs, DMs will do this from time to time, but it's I'll ask for a roll and then I'll immediately be like, what am I doing? What am I asking for? What am I asking for a roll?
What if they get high?
Yeah.
Or what if they don't get anything?
I've just sealed my own fate. Like, just done that to myself.
They're gonna miss this clue. I only got a 5. I'm like, oh no.
Better hope you're good at improv, because I mean, you want to get good at improv. Screw up as much as I do behind the screen, okay? That's fudging rules. I mean, I do it from time to time.
I don't do it much anymore. I try to. It depends on the system. I like to roll in the open more now. It raises the tension quite a bit.
I do roll in the open when something's on the line. If I'm gonna kill a character, if they're gonna get something awesome if they roll high, I like to put that out in the open, in front of the screen for everyone to see. It's a better moment.
Yeah, the bad guy's gonna get away, but he has to make the saving throw. I'm gonna roll that in the open.
Same thing. I do the same thing with random die. If you're using a random die table, or maybe you've made one up for your own adventure, which is better than using one out of the book.
Yeah, definitely.
I like to have the players roll. I mean, I won't roll for them to see what they found. Random.
Yeah,
I like to have whoever.
It's their luck. They should get to roll.
I even like to do a percentage-based roll sometimes, like a 50-50 roll. It's like, well, give me if you get higher than 50% on a roll, then something good's gonna happen.
Yeah, I've had it before where like someone asks me, so do I find anything? I'll only find some gold. How much gold? Roll 2d20. Oh, really? So now it's all in their hands where they get like 5 gold or 30. But so that kind of covered, or kind of get off topic from fudging.
Yeah.
That's kind of wraps it up.
But fudging, yes, I do it.
Don't do it much anymore.
I do want to. I think I really do. You got to ask. You got to kind of gauge what your players really want. If they know that. That
what sucks is like, so fudging is a great tool unless players start to question. Well, did I live because he fudged, or did I actually earn that?
You don't want that.
That's why
you don't want that.
It's something that you should only do very sparingly. You should never let on. Like, don't tell anybody after the fact that you fudged. And don't let your table get the players versus the GM mentality, because you are behind a DM screen. You can do whatever the heck you want. The odds are always stacked in your favor. Like the whole fudging argument. If your table is the players versus DM, like if you're running a scenario to the book and that's how the way you guys play, then fudging is not something that should be ever done at your table. But that's a different kind of game, where you have limited resources because it's all written down.
Let's talk cheating.
Have you played at a table with a cheater? Do you think?
To be honest, I don't think I have. If I have, I've never noticed, and maybe that's a bad thing on my part, but to be honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
No one's ever brought up anything in my games, but I've heard a lot of stories about cheaters,
So I believe I played with one cheater, and then I was next to a table with another cheater. So when I played at the table with one cheater, he'd roll his dice, and practically the second they would stop rolling, he'd pluck it, and then say what he got. And those dice were incredibly hard to read. They had some sort of elvish, runish look to them. Really, you would not be able to read them without picking them up, probably. And always rolled high, Did we really do anything about it? No, because not a whole lot. I mean, it's hard to accuse a cheater. And then the other time is I was sitting at a gaming table next to a group. And the player, wasn't his turn, just kept rolling his d20, and then would stop. Usually right before it was his turn, he'd stop on a number, and then with his number, he's like, "Yep, I pre-rolled. I got 19 plus 7, whatever it hit." And so of course he rolled awesome. He just rolled like 4 or 5 times until he got a number he wanted. But the DM at that point he was friends with the guy, and so he didn't really confront him or do anything about it either. But those are the 2 times I really think dice cheating came up.
I've heard stories about people rolling dice and quickly retrieving the dice before any so nobody else could see them, and that's a problem too. I don't know how I would handle those situations. I think you would have to for me to handle this kind of situation, just get everybody on board with rolling their dice so the GM can see it if he wants to. Just that little bit of allowing the GM to inspect the dice as they're being rolled, just to see, I want to see what you got, that kind of thing. Just that little bit of time there while they're rolling might be enough to kind of handle that situation.
If you're going to confront someone about cheating, I would definitely recommend not confronting them in front of a group, because that can really just put that person on a spot. And gamers aren't always the best in social situations when they're put.
And if you like the person,
I mean,
hey, I like you. I want you to keep gaming with us, but
you're doing some stuff that's a little shady.
We want you to, roll a little bit more
you know, or you can try to subvert it, like, oh, I got you this dice set as a gift. It's like big old numbers on it, you know. Or so cheating's tough because there's a whole level to dynamic of where your group is at, and if you trust each other, and is there inter-party dynamics and stuff. Dice towers, as much as we ragged on earlier, can solve the whole cheating problem.
Yeah.
I just remembered
a community dice tray.
I just remembered a third example of cheating. This wasn't a war game though, but I think it definitely applies for
tabletop,
because this was a technique that they used. So the person that I was witnessed in wargaming, he had big casino D6s. They were retired casino D6s, and if you know anything about casino D6s, is they have very sharp edges, and they're actually made to be completely balanced.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to throw them across the table and, you know, hit the edge and bounce along the board. Problem is he was rolling like this, and those D6s would just, they wouldn't even bounce. And so if
load his hand,
knew where we're doing a drop. Like he never always high rolls, 6s and 5s, you know. And it got to the point where people were just irritated, but they didn't say anything because, well, they're balanced dice, they're casino dice, you know. Like, well, they're not bouncing across the table, dude.
Those kind of dice are uncommon to see too. I mean,
I got some in my box.
I've seen them. I know people use them for counters too. Because they are really sharp edges.
Oh yeah, dude,
they're not your Yahtzee dice.
There's some cool dice. Yeah.
And fudging some people can consider fudging, if you want to go back, as cheating, right? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
In my opinion, if you're fudging as a GM or DM to your benefit, that's cheating.
Yes.
If your benefit, or if you're
what's to your benefit though? Like, are you just trying to like kill off a player because like a personal vendetta?
No, not necessarily. Well, that's
definitely cheating.
That, or if I'm trying to provide, even like if I've put my villain into a precarious situation, my fault, right? If you're providing plot armor, you know, in order to, or if you're providing plot armor to keep him alive, you can spin that into a narrative. But if you're fudging the rolls so that he does a little bit more damage, hits a little bit more frequently, but maybe not enough to kill a player, but to keep him going, I think you can consider that cheating.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a gray area because...
I mean, what are you even rolling dice for if you're going to just negate what you're rolling?
Yeah.
For your own benefit.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, whether people agree with it or not, it's a game. Games have rules. You should follow those rules as best as you can, or you lose integrity of the game. Some people don't agree with that aspect of it, but that's kind of what I believe is it is a game. Now, it's also an awesome story, but it's rooted in a system of mechanics.
Yep. Absolutely. If you think about like a saving throw, right? And if a player, this wouldn't happen, I doubt it would, but if a player was to say they failed a saving throw when realistically they succeeded on the save for the benefit of a story, right?
Yeah.
No, you don't think of that as a like, yes, you're not playing the dice, but that doesn't seem like a negative thing, does it? You know, like nobody would get after that player.
Yeah, even though technically you are going against what the rules tell you.
Yes, but if they were rolling low and saying they were rolling high on an attack,
I mean, obviously that's a cheat.
That's a cheat. See, so
that's great.
Vice versa with the fudging.
But I'll tell you what, though, the number of players out there that are gonna fudge let's use fudge, that are going to lie to hit versus lie to fail.
Yeah.
The ratio's got to be 100 to 1.
Yeah.
You know, you very rarely find that player that is so committed to the story that they want their character to fall on their face.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are that committed to the story. I love a good story, but I don't know if I would do that myself, but
dice towers, though, going back to that, is a way to combat cheating.
Yes.
Having them roll in the open.
Yep.
Having them roll in a big dice box in the middle.
Yeah. And they might want you as a GM to roll in the open because they're rolling in the open. You might encounter that. So
it's hard to. It's almost easier to combat cheating like in the beginning, like saying, okay, well for this game we're all rolling in this box or something like that. Cheating can really make a group go sour. So it's something that you have to deal with either very tactfully or at the worst case scenario, hey, you're cheating. This is your warning.
Yeah.
Cut it out or you're gone. I mean, you might have to get rid of a player if they're cheating.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't. I mean, you're all getting together for a game. You know, you want your players. You want to you consider your players friends. I would imagine. That's what I would like. And you know, you shouldn't have to be worrying about cheating.
Yeah.
And if it becomes a problem and they're your friends, you know, address it as a friend. Don't just boot them out of the game because they're cheating.
Well, people always ask, so like, why do people even cheat at an imaginary game? And like, well, people want to win. Sometimes people, I can get behind the mentality of I had a really hard day at work. I just want to succeed tonight.
Sometimes the player doesn't want to let the rest of the party down because they're rolling low all night. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So you got to figure out where they're coming from. If they just want to feel important, you know, because this is like their highlight of the day, which can definitely happen. Yeah. You figure almost why are they cheating? Is it getting ultra competitive at your table? Well, maybe that needs to be addressed too. Because the more casual and fun that you're having together, I think can make cheating go away.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it might be a table dynamic thing that led to the cheating. So definitely think about that as well.
And you know, if you're failing and the group comes together to support that failure and it's a fun thing, you know, that'll curb cheating as well.
Yeah, like,
you know.
Yeah, because like if player Bob and player Dave really don't like each other and get ultra competitive, well, maybe one of them is trying to get an unfair advantage through, you know, not quite right dice mechanics or. You ever heard of weighted dice?
Yes, I've never
seen one.
Seen them, yeah.
So there's different ways people have done weighted dice, and there's different ways to test if your dice is naturally weighted.
Yeah. I've seen the tests where you use like salt water, right? Saltwater test for your dice, for plastic dice.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The thing about that though is even if you can figure out what number it comes up, it's really. Yeah. It rarely, like, your best bet then is after you do that test. If you really want to, go roll your dice like 100 times and do a numbers chart.
Yeah.
And see if it is unnatural.
I know those tests it's quite a high number too, because like if you think about the space that's taken out for the number, the higher the number, it's a very small amount, but that's more weight taken off of that side of the dice.
That's why those casino dice are so balanced.
Yeah.
There's also, I've heard of this kind of interesting people of microwaving dice. So, if you microwave a dice, you can deform it to where it has more material on one end. Like, you know, basically you're like squishing it.
So this is a way to load a dice.
Yeah, a way to load dice. Yeah. And so it tends to always go on that flatter surface. Yeah. So you're basically melting the dice. And yeah, people have done that before. I don't think I'd ever want to microwave my dice, but I wouldn't put it past people. I've heard stories about people putting BBs in and like drill a little hole, put a BB in, and paint it over like a true weighted dice. Yeah. And you know, so if people did that kind of cheats to me, I don't think I'd ever be able to tell.
Yeah, I don't think so either myself. That's dedication.
Yeah, that's an art.
What do you think about those like the odd kind of dice that like D like 15s and those kind of like those weird dice, you know?
Yeah.
Like, or the D20s that are like a cylinder, or D4s that are like a cylinder.
Or what about like the spin down argument?
Yeah. Well, spin downs that doesn't make any sense because they're in order, right?
Yeah. Well, they're also not but you've seen symmetrical the same way.
The strange.
Oh yeah. Dice, like the barrel looking dice or stuff,
the
or
ones that aren't balanced.
There's like I think Deadlands had D6s that look like bullets, and there were 6 sides on as a hexagon.
Yeah.
Some of those dice are perfectly fine. I would still look at some cool players' dice and like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead and use them.
I wouldn't I would never ask a player to test their dice to see if they're balanced, right? But if you saw that those dice were only rolling high all the time, or if they were only rolling low, I'd be like, hey man, you should probably get some different dice.
No.
If they're rolling high all the time, be like, maybe we should get some different dice.
Now, the Magic spin downs, I am not completely familiar with the odds on them, but I think if I remember correctly, just the way it's set up, because it's set up like you said in order, but it's also not completely symmetrical. So I believe the high numbers and the very low numbers are more likely to come up than the middle numbers. I can't remember for sure if that's the case.
The faces aren't symmetrical?
No, yeah, because it's not laid out completely. Because it's meant to click it down. Yeah. But don't quote me for that. There's probably tons of videos out there on that. I know people that say no spin down dice for D20s in my game.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't want to use them as a player myself.
Yeah,
it
but
seems like
one
side is all high, one side's all low. So if you 50-50 chance you're going to roll a lot higher or a lot lower. Right?
If it's not balanced. If it is balanced, then I'm completely wrong in that aspect, and spin downs should be fine. But from whatever I've heard, I believe it's more likely to land on the very high numbers or the very low numbers, because those middle numbers don't fit right, like on the way the dice is actually shaped.
I'd be more afraid of rolling
low
consistently. But yeah, that's I think what we got covered for cheating. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have if you've seen any crazy cheating stories?
Yeah. If you have any wild ones, please share. Yeah, we'd like to hear. But
that's our dice episode.
That's our dice episode.
Yeah.
So, if you liked this episode, please subscribe, like, share, do that whole nonsense, and look forward to our next video.
Yeah. Post, comment, do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, hit us up on our Facebook, ask questions. We do live stream from time to time. It's been a while, but in the future we're probably going to be doing some stuff coming up. And until next time.
Yeah.
Bye guys.
Bye.